Good morning everyone, Dr. Nat here. So we are continuing with lab number 8. I am assuming that everyone has completed activity 1 up until activity number 3. This was activity number 1. This was activity number 2, which is the chip. And this is the spacer, which was activity number 3. Now activity number 4, let me pull it up really quickly. So activity number 4 tells us that we have to develop an explode view. So what exactly is an explode view? So an explode view arranges the items in such a way that the audience or the reader would know how to assemble the components into the entire system. So remember that we had an assembly drawing whereby you had like 12 parts or like 11 parts, I don't remember, and you were trying to put the parts together to make your assembly drawing, and they were all connected, right? So that was your assembly drawing in 2D. But for explode view, your arrangement should follow the actual arrangement as if you were to connect them all together, but you have some gap between the components. So these are the gaps. That's why it's not yet connected, but it is, it's arranged in a way that you would know where to put it, right? If you had like a Tamiya car or like a remote control car or like a Gundam, they would give you this explode view and you would know where to put the components. You always see this. So that's called the explode view. So let me get rid of this. So we are trying to make an explode view. This is obviously not an explode view. So the explode view for this guy would be, we start with the major component, and then this guy would be over here, and our chip would be the last one, and they would all be connected by a line. So that's your explode view. Okay, so let's get rid of this as well. So now we have to arrange it. It's pretty easy, but arranging in AutoCAD, I think it's a little bit of a task. So let's do that together. I'm going to do from the top view first. Right now I'm in X-ray mode. Top. Okay, so I want everything to be parallel. Why is this like everything looks macam sengit? Okay, let me see. Line. I'm trying to make a point. Oops, what am I doing? I want it to be orthographic. Okay, enter. So now I'm going to, I have like an existing line that shouldn't be there, but never mind, I'm gonna do that later. I'm gonna move this object over here, specify a base point. Remember when we did the assembly, it was hard if you were to select the edges. It is better if you start with the midpoint because you want everything to be connected at the midpoint, right? So this is what we are going to do. Let's just put it here first. So now I have something like this, and now I'm going to move this guy because this is not where I want it to be. I want it closer. Specify the, so I'm going to go, I want my snap mode to be nearest. So let's see, this looks about right. So now I'm going to extend this line a bit, stretching it out. Okay, enter. Now I'm going to select this guy and try to move it next to the spacer. Move, specify base point, go for the midpoint as always, remember, and try to eyeball the gap. You can be specific, you can be accurate with this, but I'm not going to do that. Let's just assume that this is like 5 and this is 5. I don't know what's the actual spacing, so I have it over here. Now it looks like it looks alright, right? Now I'm going to delete this. But if you were to look at this in a different view, let's say bottom would be the same as top. Let's say we're looking at it from this side. So this is slightly higher, the chip is slightly higher from the front. Okay, so I want everything to be aligned in a way that they could fit in, right? This is the aim. Make this slightly angled and figure it out. Front again. Let's go for front. Okay, I want to adjust this a bit. Move. So this is already like, this is not going to fit, right? Because you know that the hole is here. So I'm going to try to do this. Specify base point. Let's go for the midpoint. Hopefully we can select the midpoint. And I'm going to go for the midpoint on here as well. Let's just leave it there. And oops. Oh, the first thing I should do was to make a line. That would be better, I think. So I'm going to make a line, specify a point. I'm going to try to fit in everything at this line. And now I'm going to move this guy, select the midpoint, and try to put everything at the midpoint. Whoops. Okay, I hope I don't screw up. Let's not screw up because I don't have time. So midpoint, go for the midpoint over here, eyeballing the distance. Okay, so hopefully now everything will fit in. So now let's take a look. Let's get rid of this line. We don't need it. Let's take a look if it looks okay or not. Let's view this in realistic. SW isometric. Okay, so this is your explode view. So if I was a reader, if I were a reader and I looked at this diagram, I would know that, oh, the spacer goes in first and then the chip, right? So this is the function of explode view. It gives you the arrangement idea. So you can have a line if you are doing this in 2D, but in 3D it's kind of difficult to do that. So leaving it like this is already sufficient. Okay, to submit activity number 4, which is your explode view, we're not done yet. You have to present it to me in your A4 template like this. Make sure you have your name, your metric ID, your project or lab number, your date and scale. Is it 1 to 1? Is it 1 to 2? And the page. If you are submitting more than 1, then it would be 1 out of 2. Or if you're just submitting 1, then it's going to be 1 out of 1. So for this guy, we're not done yet because I want you to label this with the multi-leader. Now, if you still remember how to do that, let's go back to the model. So I'm going to style my multi-leader first. If you have not done that before, multi-leader style. Okay, so I have M leader here as my multi-leader. I want to edit it first or to style it first. So I'm going to go for M leader style. And I'm just clicking annotative and I'm going to click over here and modify it. And I want my M leader to be like this. If your multi-leader is not like this yet, I'm going to teach you how to make the balloon again, even though we've already covered this in class. So the content should be, go to content, and it would be like M text over here. This would be the default. But I want you to have your multi-leader in circle, right? So it should be block, and you would select, it would be detail callout if it's in the default. So you go for the circle. If it's in detail callout, then you would have 2 lines. I mean like 2 places to write. We don't want that. We just want 1 line for our text, and we select circle. And for the scale, I'm going to write here 1 and see what happens. And for the leader structure, my set distance, I would select it as, I would untick automatically include the landing distance. So we're not going to have any landing distance. So now my scale is 1 to 1. And I want my format for my text. This arrowhead is too small. I'm going to make it 4. And I want my content to be Okay, so this is the scale in terms of arrowhead to text, I think. So I'm gonna make this, if I want my text to be 1 and I want my multi-leader arrowhead to be 4, I would want this to be 0.25 in scale. So let's see what would happen. And I'm going to set this as current and close it. And now I'm going to add in my multi-leader and label this. Make sure your orthographic mode is off because we want to slant it a bit. So this is my arrowhead. It is size 4 and my tag number should be number 1 because this is part number 1. So this is the scale. It is 0.25 with respect to the arrowhead size. So I think this is 1 and this is 4. So I want to do the same thing for this and this. This is part number 3 and this is part number 2. So M leader. I don't know if I want this leader to be 4 actually. I'm going to edit this again. Multi-leader style is kind of too big. So I'm going to make this as 2. Let's see if that's better. Okay, so if this is 2, why isn't this changing? But I like this style, so I'm going to go for it. Okay, so continuing with the tag number 1, confirm, and then again, I forgot to check what the size is. Oh, I can actually specify the angle. Can I? Okay, I'm gonna make it like that. Okay, M leader, the next one. Over here, trying my best to align it. Hopefully, number 2, sorry, this is part number 3, confirm. So you can adjust this later. So if you just select the multi-leader, you can stretch it or move it around. Try your best to make it, I mean look decent, right? And then the last one would be going to try to select over here, the nearest one. Oops. And trying my best for it to make everything have the same angle. So this is number 2. Oops. Confirm. Okay. So now I want to present this in my A4 title block. So now because I selected it as annotative, even though it's not the same orientation as what we saw in model, because it's annotative, remember I told you it's going to be smart and it will align itself to the view. So we still have the multi-leader looking good. So here I can, I think I have an extra line over here that I can clean up later on. This one is clean. This one has an extra rectangle box. That's not good. I think this one is clean as well. And then, what else? So this is our explode view, complete with a part number. And I want to have a table over here. I'm going to adjust it a bit. So hopefully this view, I need to make it bigger so that the reader can see what they're trying to do. And hopefully my table would fit over here. And if I'm looking at it in paper view, looks good. Remember my Mac can't do the text thingy. I hope you can. Explode it into polyline and make it look good. Okay, so we need to make the bill of material. So we want to create this table. Sorry, I'm skipping activity number 5 first. So this is activity number 6. We are creating a table to be put inside our title block. So we have 1, 2, 3, quantity 111, name, casing, chip, spacer, material, aluminum, PCB, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and we want to put it inside our title block. Okay, so we are going to make our table now. I'm going to type in table, picking the first one. So I'm going to select a corner to put this table, and we know that we have 4 by 4 table, 4 columns, 4 rows. Specify the second corner. I'm just going to specify it over here. So this is what I'm starting with, and I want to have more. So if I click it, I would see that I have options over here. This is not what I want. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just clicking one cell over here. If I were to click this, I would add another row down here. If I were to click this one, I would add another row up here. Uh-oh, my mic is dying. Wait. Okay, so obviously I want to add a row down here. So now I have 4 rows. I want 4 columns as well. So 4 columns, I'm going to select this guy. It means that I'm going to insert column to the right. 1, 2, 3. So this is not very pleasing to the eyes because they have merged this cell for whatever reason that I'm not understanding. So I'm going to unmerge it. So I'm going to click this guy over here. So you can, as you can see that the lines have appeared. I'm going to do the same thing for this second row. So now I have a 4x4 table, but it's overlapping my diagram. So let's adjust that to make it smaller. I hope it's going to fit. Maybe my drawing has to change somehow. Wait, let's try to arrange this. Let's make it like this. Would it be better? But my multi-leader would not be nice. Okay, so if this is this better? Let's see. So I'm going to stretch this table because now I have space. I'm going to specify the base point to be the midpoint over here and try my best to like arrange it nicely. Okay, so hopefully that's good enough. So now I want to make this table smaller for this guy over here. Okay, so the first one would be item, if I'm not mistaken. Item in bold, sorry, item in uppercase, quantity, item, quantity. Okay, item, quantity, name and material. Item, so this guy is quantity, name and material. Okay, so this is going to be item number 1, item number 2. I'm going to arrange it to be center aligned later. So right now, if I click this, okay, so if I click this in its text form, you would see this tab over here. How do I select this to be center? I'm going to figure that out in a bit. Okay, so the quantity is 1. All of them are 1. It's not very efficient table. Okay, and then the name would be casing chip spacer. I'm just taking my time here. Casing, chip, and also spacer. Okay. And then our material, aluminium PCB FR-4 polycarbonate. I can't remember this one nicely. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. PCB FR-4. This guy is polycarbonate. Sometimes they think that I'm trying to make a command, but I just want to write text. This guy is supposed to be aluminium. They are using, I think this is UK writing, UK spelling. Okay, so I have adjusted quantity and name to become smaller. I just dragged it like so, and so that I could fit in the polycarbonate as a single line. So everything looks good. Now I want to try to make this guy bold so that I know that this is supposed to be like my header, right? So let's make it bold. At least it looks different than the other cells. Make it bold. Make it bold. And this guy also make it bold. Okay, so I think this is okay for our table. Please submit your activity number 4 and also activity number 6 together in your A4 title block. Make sure you have your name, metric ID, date, etc. etc. Do not clean up your drawing. If you see any lines hanging that's not supposed to be there, clean it up. Submit something that is very nice and pleasant. Okay, so I'll see you in activity number 5.